Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video we're going to be doing a first look or taking a first look at the Week 7 NFL slate on Draftkings and Yahoo. We're going to go through this slate and build out a first look lineup, talk about some guys at each position that stand out early on in the week, mainly based on matchup, price tag, volume alone, more of like a cash game based lineup, talking about guys that get good volume, that are too cheap, and good matchups. Really just players that stand out to me early on in the week that I feel like I'm going to have exposure to, later on in the week when I do finalize my lineups, Saturday and Sunday. Obviously, this is not my only video I'll be putting out this week. I will have my full breakdown going up most likely on Friday, so be sure to check that out. I do like to put out, these first look videos, though, just to get out some content early on in the week, give you guys some of my early thoughts on the slate. So, we'll go through the slate and build out a first look lineup, go through each position. Obviously, I'm not here to give you lineups. That's not what I do. I don't, normally I don't play the lineup that I put out here because I'm recording this at the beginning of the week. Things can change. But I do like to go through and just kind of talk through some plays that stand out to me, what I like early on in the week. So we'll go through each position, and we'll do that for DraftKings and Yahoo. Build out first look lineups for each site. Just before we do get started, guys, as always, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like button down below. If you are new to the channel here, be sure to hit that subscribe button as well. I do upload a ton of NFL content to this channel, probably 4 to 5 videos a week I'm usually getting up, so you're going to want to make sure you're subscribed. Be sure to click that notification bell as well, so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You'll never miss out on any of my new videos. And if you do really enjoy these videos and if they help you out a lot and you want to get more content from me, I have stuff available on Patreon. That is linked down below in the description. If you are interested, you can check out the Patreon link down below and see all that I do have to offer over there. But yeah, guys, let's go ahead and start off at quarterback for this week. So, early on in the week, just some of the few guys that stood out to me. I've been playing DFS for probably about 4 years. I think this is probably like my 3rd or 4th year playing NFL DFS. When you play for so long, you can kind of understand who's going to be the chalk. Like I can open the slate early on in the week and just see like, yep, this guy's going to be popular. Yep, this guy's going to be popular. First thing that stood out to me was Kyler Murray. I think his price tag is just too low this week. 7,100 at home against the Seahawks. Seahawks have allowed the most passing yards per game this year. This game right now has one of the highest totals on the slate at 56. I believe it's actually tied for the highest total, or the Lions and Falcons has a 56.5 total. But yeah, 56 total in this game. I think Kyler Murray was one of the first guys that stood out to me just based on price tag matchup. He should be priced up there with Russell Wilson, with Josh Allen. I think 7,100 is a bit of a discount. I really like him early on in the week. He was one of the guys that stood out to me. He looked great Monday night against the Cowboys. He only completed 9 passes in that game and still had 28 DraftKings points. 9 for 24, 188 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. Did also have 74 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. Like, Kyler's floor is just so high, especially for cash games. Like, he's always someone that I'm going to consider for cash just because his rushing floor is so high. Like, he's been better on the ground than Lamar Jackson has so far this season. Like, Kyler, I'm pretty sure he has a rushing touchdown in all but one game so far. And in the game where he didn't get a rushing touchdown, he still had 24 DK points. It's hard not to like Kyler at 7,100. He was one of the guys that stood out to me early on in the week. Obviously, you could pay it for Russell Wilson. He's been awesome this year, but I think I'd rather save $900 and play Kyler. You got like Deshaun Watson in a good matchup, high total game against Green Bay. Matt Ryan looked good last week. Getting Julio back is obviously helpful for him. He's in a good spot as well at 6,700 against Detroit. But these guys, I don't think they have the ceiling that a guy like Kyler Murray does, especially when I'm talking about like cash games. I'm looking for guys that have rushing upside that can just add more on the ground, and that's what Kyler does. Kyler doesn't have to throw for 400 yards to get there. He can throw for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then he can give you 60 yards and a rushing touchdown on the ground. Like, his floor is just so high with his rushing ability. So really like Kyler early on in the week. It's a bit tougher to play Kyler on Yahoo because they did do a good job of pricing him up. He is tied for the most expensive quarterback on Yahoo. Him and Patrick Mahomes are both $40. So I don't know if I'll be able to get to Kyler there. Maybe if we get some value throughout the week, I might be able to pay up for him. But one of the guys that stood out to me on Yahoo with Deshaun Watson, he's only $33. Since the Bill O'Brien firing, like, Deshaun Watson and this Texans offense has looked really good. Last 2 games, 26 and 32 fantasy points. he's just been the quarterback that I thought he would be going into the year. He got off to a really slow start at the beginning of the season, but I knew eventually that would turn around. He's turned things around just the last few games. Now he gets a good matchup against Green Bay, a very high total game. This game also has a 56 total. Vegas is expecting a lot of points to be scored here. Watson's at home, where he seems to always play much better. Him and Will Fuller, I think, make a lot of sense this week. We'll talk about Will Fuller when we get to receiver. Really like Watson on Yahoo at $33. I think he's a little bit too cheap there, whereas on DraftKings, I think Kyler is a little bit too cheap. So that's kind of where I'm looking to at quarterback. You could always go cheap, especially in cash games. I think it does make sense to pay down at quarterback when there's good value. This week, there's not much value that I love. I think Drew Brees for 6,100 against the Panthers is interesting. Drew Brees always been better at home. But again, I like to target quarterbacks that give me some rushing upside, and Drew Brees doesn't really do that. Teddy Bridgewater, though, on the other side, 5,800. Hashtag revenge game for him against the Saints. You could definitely look to Teddy Bridgewater as well. He's probably going to be more of like a tournament play. Cash, I feel like I'm going to be paying up for Kyler this week, but that could change, as we go throughout the week. If I find guys I want to try and pay up for at other positions and I can't get up to Kyler, I could see going cheap with Teddy Bridgewater. But for now, we'll go with Kyler as our quarterback early on in the week. He is the guy that really stands out to me on DK. Before we move to running back, I do want to go through defense real quick, just plug in a cheap defense. As we build out the lineup, if we have salary to upgrade, we can. If we need to downgrade, we can. I don't spend too much time on defense. The first defense that stood out to me on DraftKings, just talking about like cheap defenses, Washington's only 2,500. They're at home against the Cowboys. The Cowboys did not look good at all Monday night. Andy Dalton himself wasn't that bad, but like their offensive line was just, they couldn't block. I mean, it felt like he had pressure on him like every play. The receivers were dropping passes. Like they just didn't look in sync. They didn't look great offensively. Washington actually has a pretty good defensive line. Like they got Chase Young, they got Montez Sweat. Like this is a team that can get pressure on the quarterback. For 2,500, I'm fine plugging them in as our kind of cheap defense for now. And if we have salary at the end to upgrade, we can. We'll go with Washington as our cheap D. Yahoo, Washington's a little bit more expensive there. If you look, they are $14. Sure, you could play them, but if you look a little bit cheaper, you got like the Chargers at home against the Jaguars. Normally in terms of defense, I just kind of play whatever defense fits. But if I have a choice, I usually like to go cheap at defense. Maybe find defenses that are at home against bad offensive teams or bad quarterbacks, or maybe quarterbacks that will turn the ball over. I think that's kind of the case here with the Chargers facing the Jags. The Chargers are big favorites here. The Jags are probably going to be throwing, which is what we want. We want the quarterback dropping back. That's going to allow sacks, interceptions, maybe sack fumbles. So Jaguars for 13 will be our cheap defense that we'll plug in over on Yahoo. But let's go ahead and move on to the running back position. So running back is normally always a position, especially for cash games, you are going to want to pay up. And that's the case this week. We have some really good options at the top. I think Alvin Kamara stands out for sure as like one of the top plays this week. It's early on in the week, but I have a feeling I am most likely going to be jamming in Kamara into my DraftKings lineup. 7,900 at home in one of the best possible matchups against the Panthers. It is hard not to like him this week. I think DraftKings definitely messed up here, not pricing him up. Like when I saw that the Saints were playing the Panthers, first thing in my head was, what is Alvin Kamara's price tag going to be? Is DraftKings going to price him up to like 8,500, 9K, or are they going to leave him in the 7K range and he's going to be massively popular? Well, they left him in the 7K range. He's only 7,900. I have a feeling he's going to be one of the highest owned players on the slate. But just talking about cash games, Kamara is going to be someone you want to build around. He's been so insanely consistent this year, at least 19 DraftKings points in every game. We know with DraftKings PPR scoring, like that is so valuable for a guy like Kamara who's going to catch, 5-6 balls, going to get close to 10 targets. I'm assuming Michael Thomas will be back for this game, but still, Kamara is going to be the number one running back, going to get looks in the passing game. It's probably the best possible matchup you can get. The Panthers have been gashed on the ground this season, and last year they were one of the worst teams against the run. Love Kamara here. I think, if I can pay up at running back, which I will be for sure doing, he looks like a great play at 7,900. I do prefer him over Zeke against Washington. Zeke always has a high floor, is always someone you can play in cash games, but I would rather just, pay $100 more and get Kamara, who's in a much better matchup, who gets more work in the passing game as well. Although Zeke, he's going to get probably 5-6 targets as well, maybe more if they're playing from behind, which I don't think will be the case this week, but, Zeke's always fine to go to. Derrick Henry can't really go there in cash, Against the Steelers, that's already a tough matchup. Henry doesn't really catch passes either, which, that definitely puts him behind guys like Zeke, puts him behind guys like Aaron Jones, Kareem Hunt. I know Derrick Henry's coming off a massive game where he went for over 40 Draftkings points, but I don't really want to chase that. I'll let other people chase that. I think there's better plays. Like I said, Kamara, Zeke. Aaron Jones, definitely like the RB2. He's the guy that stands out as well on DraftKings at 7,200. So he gets a matchup against Houston, and we saw what Derrick Henry did against Houston last week. Houston has been gashed on the ground this season. They've actually allowed the most rushing yards per game so far this year. Aaron Jones, we know, is a workhorse running back, going to get anywhere from probably 15 to 20 carries depending on how game script sets up. He gets a good amount of looks in the passing game as well. Like, he's going to get 5 to 6 targets if they're playing from behind. Like, that doesn't really matter. They're not taking Aaron Jones off the field. If they're behind, he will be involved in the passing game. Like, he's pretty much a game script proof. I know he didn't have a great game last week against Tampa Bay, but that was just a terrible performance in general from the Packers. They only scored 10 points. Jones only got 13 touches. He still managed to score. His floor is just so high. His ceiling is so high as well, and this is one of the best matchups you can get. Like, facing the Panthers, facing the Texans, facing the Lions. Like, these are some of the worst teams defending the run just so far this season. Really like Aaron Jones here. I think it's 7,200. He makes a lot of sense. You can easily play him with Kamara. There are some cheap receivers I like, so we'll be able to get both Kamara and Jones in. Always look to go cheap at tight end as well. We'll definitely be doing that this week. I don't really see myself paying up at tight end. Now on Yahoo, it's a bit of a different story. Like, they did a pretty good job of pricing up these expensive guys. Like, Kamara is $43, Aaron Jones is $39. Like, it is going to be pretty tough to pay up for those two guys. I think it makes sense to go down to some of these mid-range options rather than paying up all the way to the top for Kamara and Jones. Obviously, I love Kamara and Jones this week, but just talking about the savings we can get, like, you got Kareem Hunt for $28. I'm assuming Nick Chubb is going to be out for this game. I think Chubb's going to be out at least a couple more weeks. So we're going to get the Kareem Hunt show for at least another week. Last week against Pittsburgh, that was obviously a very tough matchup. He was very disappointing. But in general, the Browns, just offensively as a whole, they only put up 7 points. They benched a lot of their starters late in the game because they were losing by so much. I'm not going to really look at that too much or weight that game heavily. That was a tough matchup. Now he gets to face the Bengals, who have always been a team that's really struggled against the run. Kareem Hunt definitely feels underpriced on Yahoo at $28. When you factor in that, he's also kind of a workhorse running back, going to get probably 15 to 20 carries depending on how game script sets up. This is a game where they should be playing from ahead, so I think, Kareem Hunt will be involved late in the game. In that game against the Colts, they had a pretty big lead in that game, and they were just feeding Kareem Hunt late in the game. I know he came out a little bit because I think I don't think he got injured, but he was just a little gassed, so they had to bring in D'Ernest Johnson, but D'Ernest Johnson was not involved that much in that Colts game. I would assume, if this game stays close, it's going to be the Kareem Hunt show. He's going to get a ton of usage. At $28, I definitely like him as sort of a guy we can use to, save some salary so we don't have to pay up all the way to the top for those, top-tier guys. Like I said, I love Kamara and I love Jones, but it is very tough to pay $43 for Kamara, $39 for Jones when you can save so much and get Kareem Hunt for $28. You got Mike Davis as well for $25. Mike Davis is someone that I've pretty much been playing like every week on Yahoo. I don't know why, but they're really slow to price him up. Like, he should be priced up there with Kareem Hunt, with Zeke, with Derrick Henry. The fact that he's only $25 on Yahoo, like, he's another one of those guys in the mid-range that really stands out to me, just in terms of price tag. I'm assuming Christian McCaffrey will be out this game. They said that he is most likely going to return in Week 9, so next week against the Falcons will be when Christian McCaffrey most likely returns. So assuming McCaffrey does remain out, $25 for Mike Davis, that's just too cheap. Like, they're giving him the Christian McCaffrey role. He's playing over 90% of the snaps. He's getting 20 touches a game. He gets amazing usage in the passing game. Even here where the Panthers are 7.5-point underdogs, that's probably a good thing for Mike Davis, because if they get behind, like, they're just going to give a ton of dump offs to Mike Davis, going to get him a ton of looks in the passing game. Like, he has legit upside to get 15, 20 touches and 8 to 10 targets. $25, especially like in cash games. I think Davis will be popular this week at that price tag, but I think that is chalk that you probably just want to eat. There's other guys that are also good plays, like Chris Carson's 26 against the Cardinals. I like that. James Conner, since week 1, his disappointing week 1, he's been much better since then. He's looked like, the true workhorse running back that we all thought he would be. Against the Titans, you have him at 26. Even Gurley against the Lions, he's only 23. We're going to talk about Ronald Jones in that Sunday night game against the Raiders. He's 23. I think these mid-range guys, like from Hunt down to Ronald Jones, I think these are the guys I really want to try and get in on Yahoo rather than paying, 43 for Kamara, 39 for Jones. So really like Davis at 25. We'll try and look at another running back for our flex. Normally I do like to play through running backs in cash, and I think that is going to be the case this week. But we'll move on to receiver before we go to the flex. So going back to receiver, looking at Draftkings, I don't think we're going to be able to pay up for any of these top tier guys because we obviously, I'm trying to get in Kamara, I'm trying to get in Jones this week, at least early on. They're the guys that really stand out to me. Obviously you could play DeAndre Hopkins here. He was really disappointing Monday night against the Cowboys. That was a really good matchup. He only had like 8 Draftkings points. He had like a 61-yard catch, and if it wouldn't have been for that 61-yard catch, he would have finished with like 2 DK points. Really disappointing game from Hopkins Monday night, but I would expect him to bounce back here in a very likely shootout against the Seahawks. You could pay up for Hopkins, but I think I'd rather play Kamara and I'd rather play Jones. Devonta Adams as well. You could always pay up for Devonta Adams. He has massive upside, a pretty high ceiling. Michael Thomas, I'm assuming he plays this week against the Panthers. I like that matchup as well. But I think we're going to have to go a little bit cheaper. Maybe look to this 6K range. I think Kenny Golladay against the Falcons, definitely someone that stood out early on in the week. I do have some interest in him. Tyreek Hill feels a little bit too cheap. It's not the best game environment, best matchup either, like going on the road to face the Broncos. You don't expect too many points to be scored in that game. But 6,400 for Tyreek Hill I think is definitely a misprice. Like, he should be priced up there with Will Fuller, Amari Cooper, Diggs. Like, I think Tyreek Hill is a little bit too cheap on DK. He stood out early on in the week. Keenan Allen against the Jags. I like that matchup a lot. I think Keenan Allen makes plenty of sense. But my boy Terry McLaurin, 5,800 against the Cowboys. Like, I've been a big fan of Terry McLaurin. I've played him a ton this season. I think I've played him almost every week so far. I don't think I played him against Baltimore. That was when he had one of his better games. But I've been playing him a ton this season. He's a guy that I'm very high on. I made sure to get him in some of my season-long teams. This dude just has so much upside. He's such a talented receiver. Even though Washington's had some quarterback problems this season, they went with Dwayne Haskins and they benched him for Kyle Allen. Like, Terry McLaurin has still been able to put up good numbers, still been getting good volume, and now he gets to face probably one of the worst secondaries in the league, one of the worst defenses in the league. I mean, the Cowboys have just looked so bad on the defensive end. I like the spot a lot for Terry McLaurin. I think he is a little bit too cheap for this matchup. Definitely stands out on DraftKings. He should be priced up a little bit more than 5,800. Like, he should be probably 6,500 for this matchup. Definitely like McLaurin at 5,800. I think he does stand out, in that 5K range. And there's some other guys, like, I know Juju Smith-Schuster's been bad, but, he's 5,500. That feels a little bit too cheap for Juju. T. Higgins has been emerging as a, kind of like a true star. He's looked really, really good the last few games. Gets a pretty good matchup against Cleveland. He's gotten good volume the last few weeks. I think T. Higgins could be viable as well. But DJ Moore, this was one guy that stood out to me on both sides. I thought he was way too cheap this week. 5,600 in a probably likely high-scoring game against the Saints. I definitely like DJ Moore here. I think he makes a lot of sense. His volume has been there the last few weeks. He was really popular week 4 against the Cardinals and kind of dudded with just 8 DK points in that game. But he's bounced back the last 2 weeks, been much better. Against the Falcons, 5 catches, 93 yards and a touchdown, 19 DK points. Last week against the Bears, got 11 targets, 5 catches for 93 yards, 14 DK points. I don't know who Marshawn Lattimore will, be lined up against, who will shadow. There's a good possibility that he shadows Robbie Anderson because Robbie Anderson has pretty much been, the wide receiver 1 for the Panthers so far this season. But DJ Moore is still going to be involved, still going to get, probably 8 to 10 targets in a game where the Panthers are most likely playing from behind in a likely shootout, very high total. Kind of all the boxes are checked. The price tag's also coming down on DJ Moore. I like him a lot this week. He really stood out to me as one of the better options in that 5K range, along with Terry McLaurin. Definitely like DJ Moore on both sides. If we do look at Yahoo, he's priced way down over there as well. Only $18. Like, he's the same price tag as Sammy Watkins, Deontay Johnson, Michael Gallup. Like, he's cheaper than Corey Davis. He's cheaper than Brandon Cooks. Definitely give me DJ Moore over some of those guys. I really like DJ Moore this week. Definitely think he's going to be probably a guy I look to on both sides. Just given that price tag, he's way too cheap in my opinion. But then if we look for maybe another value play, we're going to have to obviously go a little bit cheap here with our last receiver. We only have just about over 4,600 remaining per player for our last 3 spots. There's one guy that I do want to hit on under 5K. So Christian Kirk is only 4,900, coming off a huge game Monday night against the Cowboys where he only had two catches, but both of them were for touchdowns, 86 yards, 2 touchdowns on 3 targets, 22 DK points. Christian Kirk, he has definitely been trending up the last few weeks. He got off to a pretty slow start, didn't do much at all in weeks 1 and 2. But since then, 10, 12, and 22 DK points. The volume's kind of been trending up. I know he only got 3 targets against the Cowboys Monday night, but they really didn't have to pass in that game much late in the game. They got up big. Like, they were just running the ball a lot in the second half. They just really didn't need to throw because they were up by so much. Here, though, against the Seahawks, a game that should be close, that should be high scoring. 4,900 for Christian Kirk. I definitely like him this week at this price tag. I think he's starting to trend up. He's starting, to play much better. He's trending in the right direction pretty much. And now he gets a great game environment, a great matchup against Seattle. Like we said earlier, Seattle's been terrible against the pass this season, allowing the most passing yards per game. Very high total game, likely shootout. Really all the boxes are checked. So I think stacking up Christian Kirk and Kyler Murray, I'd be fine doing that in cash this week. It's early on in the week. Sure, things could change. But for now, I think both those guys stand out. Definitely like Kirk at his $4,900 salary on Draftkings. Now on Yahoo, their pricing is totally different than Draftkings. I think that's something you need to take note of. If you're new to Yahoo, if you haven't played there much, like guys will be kind of expensive on Draftkings, but way too cheap on Yahoo. And there's a couple of these mid-tier receivers that I want to hit on. So Will Fuller, kind of like Mike Davis. I don't know why, but Yahoo just refuses to price up Will Fuller to where he should be. Like he should be priced up there with Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, like these. He should be up there in the high 20s. He's still only $22. Same price tag as Tyler Boyd. Same price tag as Terry McLaurin. I do like Terry McLaurin a lot this week, but I don't think I could play him over Will Fuller just straight up, given they're the same price tag. Especially because, we already have Watson in there. I think Watson's too cheap on Yahoo, so it makes sense to go to Will Fuller as well. When Will Fuller is healthy, which he's been, the last few games, he has so much upside for DFS. He's their number 1 receiver right now, with no DeAndre Hopkins on the team anymore. Fuller is locked into massive volume. He's scored in at least every game. He has at least 100 yards or a touchdown in every game so far this season besides one. And the one game against Baltimore where he didn't do anything, I'm pretty sure he got hurt in that game. He left like halfway through the third quarter, or he didn't play much in the second half at all. You take out that game, and Will Fuller has just been so consistent this season. Now he gets a great game environment against the Packers, a very high total game, a likely shootout, 56 total. Really all the boxes are checked. He's also at home where Will Fuller, he's another guy that seems to play better at home in the dome on the turf. So I really like stacking up Fuller and Watson on Yahoo. I think both guys are a little bit too cheap over there. I don't know if I'll be paying nearly $7K for Will Fuller on DraftKings because over here he is $6,800. That's probably more of a tournament play. I don't think I could do that in cash games when you have Terry McLaurin for $1,000 less. You have DJ Moore for $1,200 less. But on Yahoo, where Will Fuller's only $22, I definitely like him at that salary. I think he is a little bit too cheap over there. Then we got some, we got a lot of ways we could go with these last 3 spots. Normally I like to pay down at tight end, so we're going to have some salary to pay up for either one receiver, or we could pay up for another running back. Let's just go ahead and move on to tight end for now. We'll fill out those last few spots once we go through tight end. But looking at tight end, obviously on DraftKings we have $4,500 left for 2 spots, so we're going to have to go cheap here. We're not going to be able to pay up for like Kittle or Kelsey. You could always pay up for those 2 guys, but I like to pay up at running back. I like some of the expensive guys at the top like Kamara, Aaron Jones, Mike Davis, Kareem Hunt. These are probably the guys I'm going to be paying up for. So in cash games, I do look to go cheap at tight end. Just a couple standout options early on in the week. Hayden Hurst, someone I've been pretty high on this season, 4,400 against the Lions. I think the Lions have actually been pretty good against tight ends so far this season, but this game has a very high total. It's very likely to shoot out. Actually does have the highest total on the slate right now. The Lions defense as a whole is not very good, so I think Hayden Hurst could be a value tight end that we look to for 4,400. Austin Hooper, I think at 4K makes a lot of sense as well. Very similar to Christian Kirk, like Austin Hooper has been trending in the right direction, been getting more volume, a good amount of targets the last few weeks, 7, 10, 6 targets, double-digit DK points in 3 straight games. Now he gets to face the Bengals, obviously a defense we're not going to be scared of at all. 4K, I think we could definitely look to Austin Hooper. One injury we'll have to keep an eye on throughout the week is Jonnu Smith. Right now he's questionable. We'll have to see if he plays. But if Jonnu Smith is out, we do have Anthony Ferkser down here at 3K. Ferkser is not a guy I'd be too confident in, but he was really good last week against Houston. That was obviously a good matchup. This is a much tougher spot against the Steelers. But 3K for a starting tight end that's probably going to get 5 to 6 targets, will get looks in the red zone as well. I'd be totally fine paying down for Ferkser in cash games. Like, the tight end position has been so bad this season that your tight end could give you 5-6 points and you could still be in pretty good shape in cash. Just because, no tight end has really been breaking the slate. There's not been any chalky tight ends that have went off for 30 DK points, at least not yet. Could that happen this week? Could maybe Travis Kelce go for 30 or 35 and you kind of need him? Sure, that could happen, but tight end positions, it's just kind of been so spread out this year. Really, no one's broken the slate yet. There's been no cheap tight end that's just crushed that you've had to have. I know Trey Burton was kind of popular last week and he did well, but you still didn't have to have him to win. You can get by with 5-6 points from your tight end, especially just paying down. So if Jonnu Smith winds up out, I'd be totally fine playing Anthony Ferkser at 3K, just as a cheap punt to maybe open up some stuff at the rest of our positions. But since we don't have that news yet, I don't want to plug in Ferkser. So it's probably between Hayden Hurst for 4,400 or Austin Hooper for 4K. I think Hooper for 4K makes the most sense. Just a little bit cheaper. I like the matchup against Cincinnati. I like that he's been more involved in the offense just the last few games. David Njoku has come back, but that really hasn't stopped Austin Hooper from putting up solid games. So we'll plug him in for now as just a cheap tight end at 4K. And that leaves us 5K left for our last spot. So I said it earlier, I usually like to play 3 running backs in cash games, and I think that's going to be the case once again this week. There's just so many good running back plays every week, and that's the case here. And there are some cheap running backs that I do like. So you have Kenyon Drake coming off a massive game Monday night against the Cowboys, where he had 20 carries for 164 yards and 2 touchdowns. Did get 2 targets, but didn't have any receptions. So I'm not really sure what to do with Kenyon Drake. He's still really, really cheap. He's only 4,800. He's still the clear number 1 running back for the Cardinals. He got the most volume. He got 20 touches last night, Monday night. But he's just been so inefficient this year. He broke off that 69-yard touchdown late in the game. Obviously, that really helped him. Once he got that, I'm pretty sure that 69-yard touchdown gave him 13 DK points because he got, 7 points for, the yardage, got 6 points for the touchdown, and that did put him over the 100-yard bonus, so that's an extra 3 points. So, you take away that long touchdown at the end of the game, that he only finished with 15 fantasy points. It still was solid Monday night against Dallas, but I don't know if I want to go to Kenyon Drake, especially if he's going to be popular. I know we're talking cash games, and normally, it's good to just play the chalk and kind of, eat it in cash games. But there are other guys priced around Drake that have, just as much upside, have just as high of a floor. And Justin Jackson is one of those guys that stands out. I think between Jackson and Drake, at least early on in the week right now, I'd rather play Justin Jackson, especially because we have Kyler Murray in here. We have Christian Kirk in here. I don't really want to play Murray, Drake, and Kirk all in the same lineup. Even in cash games, I don't want to do that. So Justin Jackson for 4,900, I think does make some sense as a cheap running back this week. First game without Austin Eckler, we saw Justin Jackson get 15 carries in that Monday night game against the Saints. He got 5 catches as well. He was pretty involved in both the running game and the passing game. He looked much better than Joshua Kelly, and I would not be surprised this week if you see Justin Jackson, kind of take command of that starting running back role. I thought it was going to be a pretty even split between both Jackson and Kelly on Monday night. It was actually a 65-35 split. Jackson got 20 touches, and I think Kelly got 11. But let me check that real quick. Kelly got 12 touches, so you had 20 touches for Jackson and 12 for Kelly. I think Jackson just looked like the much better guy. He looked more explosive. He was involved in the passing game as well. It's a great matchup this week against the Jaguars. The Jaguars have always been a team that I've kind of attacked against running backs wise. I love Joe Mixon when the Bengals played the Jags. I think that was week 3 or 4. Joe Mixon had a monster game against them. I think there's definitely upside for Justin Jackson here. I have a feeling if they get down to the goal line as well, Justin Jackson will probably be the guy that punches it in. I guess it's somewhat concerning because Kelly is always there to maybe take away touches from Jackson. I don't think Jackson's going to have a workhorse role. He's not going to play 80% of the snaps and get 25 touches. They're going to involve Joshua Kelly. But with just how well Jackson played, I think he maybe took a little bit of a leap over Kelly after that game. Maybe we see, instead of a 60-40 split, maybe we see it 70-30 leaning Justin Jackson. So for 4,900, getting a running back that's probably going to get 10 to 15 carries, 4 to 5 targets. Like, that's really all we can ask for at 4,900, especially when he's in a good matchup as well. So I like Justin Jackson as a cheap option to fill out the DraftKings lineup. That's kind of what I'm looking at for this week on DK, just like an early cash game build. Obviously I'm not going to be playing this lineup, but these are just some guys that stand out to me early on in the week. Now on Yahoo, we've got a lot of ways we can go. We have $20 remaining per player for our last 3 spots. As I said earlier, I do like to pay down at tight end. I mean, we have the salary to pay up if we wanted to. Like, we could go get Kelsey, we could go get Kittle, but there are some cheap tight ends. You got Austin Hooper for $16 we could play. You have Hayden Hurst for $13. Hayden Hurst is actually cheaper than Hooper on Yahoo, so I think I'm actually going to side with Hayden Hurst on Yahoo for $13. And now that leaves us $24 remaining per player for our last 2 spots. So, as I said earlier, I usually like to play 3 running backs in cash. So, we're going to talk about another running back we could maybe plug in that flex. We obviously don't have the salary to get up to Kamara or Jones, but we could definitely get in one of these mid-range guys. We could actually fit in Zeke if we wanted to. But if we do play Zeke, I don't think that's going to leave us much at receiver. So it comes down to, one of these mid-range guys. Chris Carson against Arizona, Josh Jacobs in that Sunday night game against the Bucks, James Conner against the Titans, Todd Gurley against the Lions, Ronald Jones against the Raiders. I think between these guys, Ronald Jones I actually like a lot in that Sunday night game against the Raiders. Obviously, Ronald Jones is not on the main slate on DraftKings, but on Yahoo, they do include the Sunday night game in their main slate. So you have this game between the Raiders and the Bucks. The Raiders this season have been pretty bad against the run. Like, they've definitely been a team that you can run on. So I do like the matchup for Ronald Jones. It is a pretty high total game, 53.5 total right now. The Bucks are favored by 3. I mean, Ronald Jones, he still feels like he's a little bit too cheap on Yahoo. Leonard Fournette was out last week, and we don't have an update on Fournette yet. He is right now he's listed as questionable. I'd assume he plays. I was kind of surprised that he was inactive last week. I thought he would play. Even if Fournette plays, I don't think he's going to take much away from Ronald Jones because Ronald Jones has looked awesome lately. Like, he's been so good. He's been getting workhorse-type usage. I mean, against the Chargers, 20 carries and 6 catches, or 20 carries and 9 targets. Against the Bears, 17 carries and 5 targets. Against the Packers last week, 23 carries and 2 targets. Like, he has been a workhorse running back, getting great usage in both the running game and the passing game. Even if Fournette plays this week, I don't think Fournette's going to take much away from Ronald Jones, especially with how good Jones has looked. I don't see a scenario where Fournette just comes back and just takes away, just starts playing, 60% of the snaps. That's just not going to happen. Right now, this is Ronald Jones' backfield. Unless he does something to mess things up, he should be locked in for another workhorse-type role once again Sunday night. Even if Fournette plays, I still like Ronald Jones a lot. I think he is a little bit too cheap on Yahoo, so we can plug him into the flex at $23, and that does leave us $25 left for our last spot for our receiver. And there's plenty of guys here that I like. You have Stephon Diggs for 25 against the Jets. You have Robbie Anderson for 24 against the Saints. I don't know if I want to play Davis, Moore, and Anderson all in the same lineup unless I was stacking in tournaments. But this is cash game based, so probably don't want to go to Robbie Anderson. But you have Odell against the Bengals, Tyler Lockett against the Cardinals. I like that a lot. Terry McLaurin, obviously, down there at 22, we could play. I think it's probably going to come down to either Lockett for 24 against the Cardinals or Diggs for 25 against the Jets. I mean, both guys, I think, have a ton of upside. Both guys are in great matchups. I'm probably going to side with Diggs at 25 just because Diggs has been so consistent this season, and obviously for cash games, that's what we're looking for. I mean, his target volume is just so secure in this offense. They just look to get him the ball. They're running him deep down the field. They will throw him, long passes. They did that a lot Monday night against the Chiefs. He almost had a long touchdown catch. Still got a touchdown catch when they were even when they were at the goal line, they threw the ball to Diggs. They didn't hand it off to Singletary or Moss. This is a pretty pass-heavy Bills team. Sure, they could get a big lead here against the Jets and just run the ball a lot, but I think Diggs has so much upside in this matchup. His floor is just so high as well. He's going to get the volume. $25, you could argue, is still too cheap of a price tag for Diggs. He should probably be priced up there with, the guys we talked about, like Godwin, Hill, Ridley, Brown. He should probably be up there in the high 20s, low 30s. I think Diggs is a little bit too cheap on Yahoo. I do like him a lot at $25. He will be the last guy that we plug in to our first look lineup. So that's kind of what I'm liking for Yahoo, just early look cash game lineup. What I see early on in the week, some guys that stand out to me given Yahoo's pricing, and then for DraftKings, guys I like over on DK as well, given the pricing there. But yeah, guys, I think we broke it all down through each position. Talked about some plays that stand out to me early on in the week. I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and I hope it did help. If you did enjoy, hit that like button before you do get out of here. Hit the subscribe button as well. Be sure to click that notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload, and you'll never miss out on any of my new videos. And like I said earlier, if you do really enjoy these videos and if they help you out a lot, I have more content available on Patreon. You can check that out, link down below in the description if that does interest you. It's obviously optional, but for those of you that are interested, you can check out the Patreon and see all that I do have to offer over there. But best of luck this week, guys. I'll have more content throughout the week. I will have my Thursday Night Football Showdown video probably going up either Wednesday morning or Wednesday night. It'll be up sometime Wednesday. And then my full main slate breakdown will be up most likely Friday. I won't give out a full lineup in that video because, I'm not trying to give out lineups, but we'll talk about some guys I do like, for the main slate as we go throughout the week, get more information, can do more research, can, look at the slate more. I'll definitely key in on some guys I do like for Friday's video. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Hope you enjoyed this first look. Hopefully it helped you guys. Appreciate you watching. Good luck this week, guys, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.